Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 2827 Northeast Rocky Butte Road here in Portland, located in the crawl space. And I describe everything in general as if you're standing in the road looking at the front of the home. The line here, trajectory it's taken, it looks like the line's going to exit out the back of the house. Alright, so we're dropping into 3-inch ABS plastic here. This line has a really funny clean out on it. The clean out they put on it is actually useless, which is why they dry fit the thing into place. It's not even glued. So you can disconnect that. It's basically a 2-inch access point that ties into a 3-inch main line. Anyway, we're going to zero out right here where we drop in. Off we go here. That's weird. Foot counter just reset. Anyway, this thing, I'm starting with this one here. I'm hoping we can get all the way from it. There may very well be an outside access point. In fact, that might be it right there. We're going under just a very, very steep hillside to try and set a camera up on. I apologize, my dang foot counter keeps resetting in here. I'm set up on a really weird incline. It keeps jarring my camera every time I push on it. So we just swapped over to cast iron. Looks like 4-inch cast iron as far as I can tell here. And with the amount of vertical fall this line has, combined with the amount of turns in it, I'm probably going to have water running even when I reel back in. Dragging the camera up a very steep hillside, but there's also an immense amount of turns in here. There's just a lot of friction on the camera. Anything going through this puppy, though, is moving at quite a rate of speed. This is a very steep line. The nice part about going down a hillside like this is anytime the property naturally provides slope and grade, it's much less likely to end up with a belly in the sewer line, or settling issues in general are far, far less common. Yeah, when I go like that, just to pull the camera back, it takes quite a lot of effort to do so, even with water running. So if I don't keep water running, I run the risk of damaging the camera, pulling it back through that many turns. All right, looks like we hit the street finally. In this part of town, when you hit 6-inch concrete, that generally happens at either the right-of-way or the face of the curb. Final turn here might do us in. Okay, that's the main connection right there in front of us. Right as you round the turn, there's the oval shape opening onto the main lateral. Just so I can get a proper locate, I'm going to pull the camera back just a little bit to get it straightened out. I'll see how feasible it is to locate. I can tell this line is just dropping off the hillside going down to the road below. This is exactly how long I expected it to be. So if it's too cumbersome to get out there and locate, I'll do my darndest here if I can. In fact, what I think I'm going to do here, make things more efficient. So you have some stuff protruding to that joint right there we just went past. Has the potential to be dirt. What I'm not noticing, though, generally when you've got, and the tricky part in scenarios like this is knowing if it's dirt or if it's excess pipe grout. Pipe grout is what they use to seal up concrete pipe joints. and it looks very similar to dirt, especially after it's been sitting there for 40, 50 years and it's had gunk going over the top of it for eons. So what I'm generally looking for to help try and verify that, because they look very, very similar to one another, are secondary signs. Dark rings around the pipe joint that indicate moisture seeping through, earthworms crawling around the sewer line, things of that nature that help to tell the story as to whether or not that those joints are open. Both of the joints I've gone past thus far that have that stuff protruding out from them do not have any moisture ring around them. That's usually the first obvious sign you're going to see. You're going to have a dark ring that goes around the pipe joint where you can tell that groundwater is seeping into the sewer line. I'm not seeing that at any of the pipe joints. What I'm also not seeing is any settling whatsoever. That's another thing that occurs very commonly when you have a joint that's opened up to the ground. You're going to have settling issues typically. You'll see that the joint starts to become offset, and or you'll end up with standing water in between the pipe joints, which we don't have any of that going on here. Alrighty, line's going out to northeast, I'm sorry, it's not going out to northeast Rocky Butte, it's going out to the street behind the house. Anyway, all the concrete pipe here is aged very nicely, it's clean, it's quite smooth, and those joints there, while they, appear to be slightly suspect, I don't see any signs whatsoever that indicate those joints are open to the ground. All that looks like is excess pipe grout, which is a very common thing to see on concrete lines. You see it even with modern day plastic piping where someone puts too much pipe glue, they squeeze the pipe ends together and it squeezes through into the pipe. And you just get some excess there. Doing nothing to affect functionality and without any signs whatsoever that they're open to the ground. I'm not even putting that on my report. There's just nothing there to go off of. Not to mention most, if not all, that concrete pipe there is city responsibility anyhow. Anyway, I've got to keep the water running here. It's taken a lot of effort to pull the camera back in, even with water going through the line. If I turned it off, I'm not sure my camera would even come back. It's pinched in there that tight right now. And on my diagram that I draw, it's going to be an overly simplified drawing. This line obviously has quite a few twists and turns in it. I'm not going to map out each individual turn on this. Locating this line would be a far bigger job than scoping it on a hillside like this. Very complicated to do. Alrighty, we're coming back inside the home here, and we're going to go ahead and reel the camera out of the line. We have great flow all the way to the main lateral. All the ABS, cast iron, and concrete portions of the line, every part of this line has aged nicely and held up well. The cast iron has essentially zero scale buildup in it. It's clean. There's no standing water anywhere in the line. Nothing. And superbly clean, too. So people have done a nice job at keeping the line clean. And these steeper lines like this, the biggest thing is grease buildup. This line's not going to have the same issues the average line would as it relates to grease buildup. It's running at such a steep angle that stuff that typically affects your average line's not going to have as much effect on this one. But as it relates to cooking oil and grease, steep lines like this, it's kind of counterintuitive. You would think that you would get less grease buildup. You will actually get more on steep hillsides like this if you put a fair amount of it or a lot of it down the line. Because the water will outrun the grease. It's a more viscous, thick, slower moving fluid. It's like semi-solid depending on the temperature of it. Anyway, what happens is the water will outrun it. Any hot water that's helping to keep the stuff melted outruns the grease and leaves it behind. So it's very common on lines that are really gunked up. In a flat spot, you'll have a 1/4 inch of grease. On hard vertical drops, you'll end up with an inch of it. It's just how it works. So anyway, this does not need any cleaning. Looks great. One suggestion would be to make sure you're watching what goes down the kitchen sink drain. Try and keep the grease and cooking oil out of there. But this line could get considerably more gunked up than the average line and still function. Anyway, very nice looking line there, is functioning properly out this time. All the pipes intact, in good shape, and or good shape for its age. Very good shape for its age.